See, we didn't get all the practice jumps that guys do nowadays. We had, when I was a rookie, what they call a rookie nowadays, a new man, we had 7 training jumps. And then every year after that, when we went through refresher training for the week, we had 2 practice jumps. And that was it. It didn't matter. There was no more than 2. So the rest of the jumps were fire or sometimes experimental through MEDC, the Research and Development Center, or rescue. So I described one of the Sunday jumps. This one was not a jump. This was a fire that we got ground pounded to. There wasn't any action going on in Region 1 here, and the powers that be sent us over to Lake Tahoe. They had a fire going there. That turned out to be a picnic in the woods. It was all controlled by the time we got there, and mostly what we did is drunk a lot of beer. And then we thought we were coming home. Back in those days, on an outer region fire assignment, I carried a $20 traveler's check in my PG bag, and that was good for 2 weeks, and beer, $20. So anyway, we'd burn all that out, and we thought we were coming home, and they brought in a DC-3 from Johnson's here, and they says, no, there's a big barn burner going in Southern California on the Angeles forest called the Coyote, and you're going there. Well, we didn't like that. We took off at night. The DC-3's got 2 engines, and we lost one of them at night going over the high Sierras. Lost it. And that didn't sound too good to me. I didn't think a Doug was going to work too good on one engine. And the pilots kind of thought the same way, so they turned around and flew back to Tahoe. And I thought, oh, hot dog, we'll go home now. But the bastards, they brought in a C-46 or something else. Flew us over to, it was right out of Santa Barbara. And I'd never been on a big fire. I'd never been on a Southern California fire. None of us had. We were used to Northwest, Pacific Northwest, Montana, Idaho type fires. We'd never seen anything like this. This was a big barn burner going in 10-year growth manzanita, washing up the hillsides. And I'd never been in a big fire camp before. There was a 500-man fire camp. And I remember getting in there off the bus, and the stink of urine and the yellow jackets and all this humanity around it. I knew I was just way out of my comfort zone. Well, they sent us up to the flame in front. Of course, that's where jumpers belong. Back in those days, incidentally, on all fires, initial attack, we hit the front. We did not hit the flanks and pinch it off. It was a whole different procedure. We hit the direct front of that thing and worked off from there. Anyway, we were up on the front, and we were totally out of our element. We were contained as a crew. They hadn't divided us into individual overhead. We stayed as a crew. And a district pogue up there says he wanted us, they're going to start a backfire. There was a monster coming at us. And they were going to go down a ridge, dig hand line, for Christ's sake. Narrow hand line down this spur ridge, steeper than a cow's face, to start a backfire to catch that fire. And we says, oh, hell no, we're not going down there. It was a death trap. And he called us every kind of coward that you can imagine. He took his crew, his other crew that he had, which was a bunch of wetbacks, Mexican nationals. They couldn't even speak English. They had no idea what was going on. He took them down that spur ridge, lined them all up. They digging hand line down there, and he was down at the tag end of the thing. They'd finished the line, but they hadn't started the backfire yet, and they waited too long. The timing, of course, is got to be just right. You start that backfire when that main fire is coming just close enough to suck that backfire in and make the fire line burn the black so that it'll snuff that fire off. He waited too long, and I wasn't really sure what was going on, but in a firestorm, the noise is so, I've heard other people try to describe it, and I really can't. They'll say it's like 13 jet engines and it's like a locomotive. You can't hear. You can see guys 5 feet away from you and their mouths are flapping and you can't hear them. And it gets dark like it's evening. And it was doing that. And we were just sitting up there, the jumpers, we were just sitting there smoking cigarettes, sitting in the black. And we didn't realize that crew was in trouble. We hadn't seen the fire. We couldn't see it through the smoke, plus the 10-year growth manzanita that was higher than our heads, thicker than hair on a dog's back. I was the first one to realize that crew was in trouble. There was a guy running up over the top, Mexican guy, coming up, clawing his way into the black, or trying to, coming up that ridge, and his mouth was open. I knew he was screaming, and he was reaching out. You knew he was asking for help. And I ran over there to him and grabbed his arm, and all the skin on his arm came off like a barbecued chicken. And then I realized the guys had been hit. The foreman of that asshole that had ordered us down there, that led that crew down there, was down at the tag end of the line when that thing hit. He hadn't been wearing gloves, and he burned his hands to the bone. He just took care of himself. He just ran right up past everyone on that crew. He bypassed every one of those men, never even warned them, never said nothing to them, never told them what to do, to save his own ass, and came out on top. Well, as soon as I pulled that one guy out, we realized they were in trouble. They were all in trouble. The whole firestorm had hit that line. And I didn't realize it could blow. I've seen it blow over bulldozers. I've seen it knock over green pea pines that big, tear them right out by the roots. And there was one guy there that we rescued. He was 250, 280 pounds, a great big heavy guy, and that goddamn fire, before the flames hit, the force of that oncoming fire hit that man and took him 10 feet in the air and 20 feet over and threw him down into the manzanita and shattered his leg. We went in and got him out. We started rescuing those guys. They couldn't speak English. They were terrified. They were down in this manzanita. We started hauling guys out and laying them up on the ridge and diverting all the choppers on the fire for medevac coming over. They diverted all the slop wagons over to us. Those guys were heroes. They were going down into a pit of smoke. You couldn't see where they were going. They were dive bombing down that thing, trying to safety-proof the crew that they knew was lost down in there, spraying them with retardant. They were heroes. They probably saved a number of those guys. And the rest of us jumpers, we just was busy all afternoon trying to get those guys out. Like that guy with the busted leg. We started in with a chainsaw and sawing that shit off because you just couldn't walk through it. You had to saw it off. And it was so thick you couldn't throw the brush aside. So you had a single file stick and you handed that stuff back, daisy chained it back out to the black and threw it where it was clear. I finally got into him. We had a doctor with us, got him on a little jury-rigged stretcher and hauled his ass out of there. At one time we had 18 or 19 of those guys stretched out on the ridge. And I'll never forget the ones that could speak English, and a number of them actually could. Everyone that I talked to, everyone we were trying to help them while they're laying there waiting for the choppers, every one of them says, "Is my face okay? How's my face?" Every one of them says, "How's my face?" And we just say, "You're fine. You're cool. You're good." Yeah. That night they had these big fire camps, and we went down to the fire camp, and they had good food on those California pounder fires, fresh fruit and all that shit. But that night they had steaks, and I took one look at that steak, and I puked. And I think that was the most scared I'd ever been so far in my life. I was in no man's land. I knew, by that time I was married and I had a couple kids, or at least one. And I spent the next 10 days, I knew damn well I was never going to see Tony again. I knew damn well I wasn't coming out of there. Because what they started doing after that, they took 2 of us at a time, and we did not have radios. There's no commo. Me and another jumper named Art Juka, they'd take two of us at a time and drop us off by chopper in no man's land and tell us to walk that drainage, spotting for hot spots and smokes. No radio, no contact. The chopper dropped us off, said, see you at the other end tonight. And walking through that goddamn brush, and all I could see was those poor guys that's dying and stuff, thinking we're going to flash out just any time. It was kind of shocking. So there was a fire or two like that, but they weren't the norm, of course. So now I've just kind of painted both extremes. The Sunday jumps and the nasty ones, which every jumper experiences. My experience is no different than anybody's. No different at all. I'm not bigger, badder, better, or worse. I'm just another jumper. I just did a job that I fell in love with and did it all my life until I couldn't do it. That's all.